what exactly are dreams? I mean, are they just random, bizarre movies our brain plays at night? Or is there something deeper going on? For centuries, that's been one of the great mysteries. Well, today, we're going to dive into the theory that totally flipped the script, and we'll be using Sigmund Freud's foundational work as our map.
Now, to really get what Freud did, you gotta understand what he was up against. Back in the 19th century, science had a really low opinion of dreams. I mean, this quote pretty much sums it up. The common view was that dreams were just biological static, useless mental twitches, kind of like a muscle spasm. Not only were they pointless, some thought they were even a sign that something was medically wrong with you.
And that is the question, right? The one that changes everything. What if that cold scientific dismissal was a huge mistake? What if dreams weren't just useless static at all, but something way more important?
So before Freud could even get his idea out there, he had this massive wall to climb. See, science at the time didn't just kind of ignore dreams, it actively looked down on them. Let's take a look at why that was.
Just look at this comparison. It's a total 180. For thousands of years, ancient cultures believed dreams were vital. They were seen as messages from the gods, windows into the future. But by the 19th century, that view was completely flipped on its head. Dreams went from being priceless messages to worthless biological junk. Science had pretty much thrown the baby out with the bathwater.
And look, these weren't just vague feelings. There were some very specific, very powerful objections. Scientists thought dreams were just too insignificant, too silly for serious study. Plus, they're fuzzy, they're hard to remember, right? So why waste time on that when you could be studying something real, like a brain disease? And maybe worst of all, studying dreams just felt mystical, unscientific. It felt like taking a step backward into superstition.
But, science can't just leave a mystery alone, right? So the first real attempt to explain dreams came from a place that seemed pretty logical. They started looking for a physical cause, some kind of stimulus.
So this was the big idea at the time. The thinking was something physical, a sound from outside, a stomachache from inside. That physical thing bothers you in your sleep. And the dream? Well, the dream is just your mind's attempt to make sense of that disturbance so you can stay asleep. It's a reaction, not a creation.
Okay, this alarm clock example, it's perfect for showing how this theory was supposed to work. The physical stimulus is the sound of the alarm clock. Your mind, instead of just letting the noise wake you up, cleverly weaves it into a story. The ringing noise becomes the sound of crashing plates. So the dream is interpreting the stimulus. Makes sense, right? But wait a minute. Here's where this neat little theory starts to get a bit wobbly. Okay, the alarm clock caused a dream about a loud noise. Fine. But why crashing plates? Why a kitchen maid? Why not a fire engine or a church bell? In fact, the same person had other dreams about the same alarm clock, and those involved sleigh bells. And that is the killer flaw right there. The stimulus theory can explain the trigger for a dream, that, but it has absolutely no power to explain the specific content, the story, the images. It tells us nothing about the what. And that's the real mystery, isn't it?
So, we're at a dead end. And this is where Freud walks onto the scene and just flips the whole thing on its head. He proposes something completely, radically new.
All right, so let's just hammer this home. The old idea, a sound, a feeling, a stomachache, a physical or somatic event causes the dream. It's all about the body. And then comes Freud's idea, which is the exact opposite. He says, no, let's stop looking for the cause out there. Let's start with a new assumption. The dream isn't a reaction to the body, it's an expression of the mind.
And this right here, this is the hypothesis that literally changed everything. Freud says, let us assume. And with just that simple phrase, he reframes the entire debate. If the dream is a psychic phenomenon, that means it isn't random noise. It's an achievement, an expression. It's something the dreamer's own mind created. And if the mind created it, well then it has to have meaning.
Okay, fair enough. But that raises a pretty obvious question, right? If the dream means something and it comes from my mind, then why the heck don't I know what it means? When I wake up, I'm just as baffled as anyone. And this problem led Freud to his next crucial idea.
I love this idea. It's such a weird, brilliant paradox. The answer isn't in some book or out in the cosmos, it's already inside you. The problem is that knowledge is hidden from your conscious mind. You know the answer, you just don't know that you know it. So how on earth could you even prove an idea as strange as that?
Well, Freud found his proof in a really surprising place. Hypnosis. Just think about this sequence. A person is hypnotized, and they're told to experience all these vivid hallucinations. Then, you wake them up, and they swear up and down, I remember nothing. But if the hypnotist insists, if they pressure them and say, no, you do remember, suddenly the full memory comes flooding back. The implication here is staggering. The knowledge was there the entire time, fully formed, just hidden away. This was real evidence that an unconscious part of the mind actually exists.
Okay, so now we've got two big ideas on the table. Dreams have a hidden meaning, and the dreamer actually knows it, just unconsciously. So the next logical question is, how do we get it out? You need a key, right? A special technique to unlock it.
And the technique he came up with is so simple, it's brilliant. You don't ask the big question, what does your dream mean? Because they're just going to stare at you blankly and say, I have no idea. Instead, you break the dream down into little pieces, an image here, a person there, a feeling. And for each piece, you just ask a simple question. What comes to mind? You follow that chain of associations to find the hidden threads.
Now, to show you that this isn't just, random guessing, Freud uses this fantastic analogy that I think we've all experienced. Having a name on the tip of your tongue. You know it, but you just can't quite grab it.
So, Freud's trying to remember a certain name, and he can't get it. But instead of just getting frustrated, he pays attention to all the other names that are popping into his head, and he gets this weird list of places. He called these substitute thoughts. They show up in place of the thing you're actually looking for.
At first, this just looks like a jumble of random places, but then he looks closer, and he spots a pattern. See it? 4 of them share the same sound, mon, and that leads him straight to the forgotten name, Monaco. The key insight here is that the associations, the substitutes, they weren't random at all. They were clues, directly determined by the very thing that was hidden.
So, let's just pull this all together. What have we learned? Well, first, dreams are not just random biological static. Second, they are meaningful creations of our own minds. Third, the dream we remember is actually a kind of disguised substitute for other hidden thoughts. And finally, and most importantly, we can actually uncover that hidden meaning by following the trail of associations. And all of this whole incredible journey from biological noise to hidden meaning, it all leads back to you. It all leads to one really personal and maybe kind of profound question. If your dreams aren't just random, but are actually meaningful expressions of your own mind, filled with things you don't even know you know, then what are your dreams trying to tell you?